You hear that harmony?
That was really good.
That was beautiful.
Can you try again?
Yep. Here we go. Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Blind. We are here in Kansas over Thanksgiving weekend. And thanks once again to Tetra Herring, the title sponsor of Behind the Blind, a podcast that can be found on YouTube or any of your favorite podcast platforms. Video versions of video on Spotify and YouTube. Eric Champlin, Logan Burditt, Justin, Chaz, Michaels. I'm Ronnie Philips. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Hey.
Happy Thanksgiving, fellas.
Happy Thanksgiving. Hey. It was a great Thanksgiving Day. It was even better Black Friday. And let's start with Thanksgiving Day. Of course, I'm excited about it because it was a field mallard shoot for the most part. We got to pick on a few honkers, but thank you, Logan, for finding that field in the corn.
Anything for you, anything for you.
I appreciate that.
This year that the snow geese are not around yet. They've been migrating heavy today. But
yep.
They're not here. Nothing to speak of that. So you got lucky. Lucky you.
We do this just to please Ronnie. We do this.
It's about time that we figured this out after 11 years,
That's
right?
That's the only reason we do this gig.
The good thing is, you know, Ronnie was more excited about the gadwalls than the mallards.
Well, because the gadwalls showed up and they did it. And I wasn't going to let him get out. I did have a nice little poke, though. That was that one that came in. That was fun.
That was a good 70 yards.
Best shot you've ever made.
70.
Best shot you've ever made.
Nah, I don't know about that.
It was the last one out of the 6 that came in trying to squeak out.
No, that was a single.
Yeah, it was
that
single.
one. That was a single.
Oh, that wasn't from that group?
Yeah, I was standing up.
We all thought it was too far to shoot, and Ronnie just
smoked it.
Yeah, stoned it down.
He stole a page out of my book. Anyway,
I learned everything from you, Champlin.
Best shot he's ever made.
Anyway, back to the cornfield on Thanksgiving morning. Can't remember what is it, 35 birds total. I think that we were. Is that or
yeah?
or
we shot like 22 mallards. I think 22,
yeah,
Norwegian or something like that.
7 geese, something like that. So yeah, let's set up the hunt. Tell us how that all kind of came about, Logan.
So we've actually, what was it? 3 years ago we hunted that field to the north of there. Anyways, we've hunted this guy's ground a lot in the past, and this was a field we've never hunted before. It was like a little 80-acre cornfield, 100-acre cornfield.
It wasn't even that. The whole patch there with the grass and trees and everything, and on the other side it's 100. So this thing is probably only about 40.
Yeah, it was very small. But what I first saw scouting was that Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. When I first saw scouting on Tuesday or I guess it was Wednesday morning I saw those. There was a small cattle pond that had a bunch of cattle in it. And there was like, I don't know, 1,000, 1,500 mallards that just picked up out of that and kind of swarmed the cornfield and then went back to the water. And then there was, I don't know, 500-600 geese that were coming from a long ways that just kept piling in there. And then the ducks never came out again. So I didn't really know what to think on the ducks. I just knew that they were either loafing or roosting very, very close by. Mm-hmm. And the ducks were the ones that actually played better. The geese all came out at once.
Yep.
We had a couple of birds short stop us. But I mean, it was a good hunt for the most part. And we had 5-6 different groups of ducks come in, and they
weren't like good. Just small groups. I mean, they were big groups.
Yeah,
like they really came in.
Ducks.
Yeah,
and
but the geese never really came though either. Like it was just a couple small bunches randomly, not from the direction that we thought they were going to come. And like you said, we got one group that swung over, and we shot all 8 of those out of that one group, 7 or 8, whatever. But then we got short stopped, and then nothing else showed up. Like we'd maybe seen 100, and you'd seen 600 the day before.
Most of the ones that did come from the south, like we thought, started going to the pasture.
Right.
And
Yeah,
well, then there was the other was
They were
on
landing
the
in the
north end of the
pasture
field.
next to the cornfield. It's just bizarre, but
They're also piling then to the south on the other side of the road.
That's right.
For a while.
Yeah.
late season stuff.
yeah.
Mhm.
No, I've never seen birds in a pasture in the fall. I'll see them at the very end of the season, late season.
Yeah.
Well, but it's kind of like, or at least it was that day, fall-like temperatures. I mean, we were scouting that day, and it was between 55 and 60 degrees.
You mean spring like
Yeah.
Well,
But I'm saying you don't see them do that in the fall or the winter. You see them do it at the end of the season on the migration back. You'll see them go into those pastures. But right now, with like you're saying, as warm as it is,
mhm.
and that pasture was hayed, and
There's
so it's just
I think
green
there's bales in it too.
Yeah, and there's just green grass out there,
Mhm.
and they just went there, and once they did that right next to us, you're done.
Definitely can't hunt that.
No,
Chaz Michaels, how does it feel to be back on Heartland Waterfowl?
It's good to be back. But you act like I did 4 trips last year, Ronnie. You act like this is my first trip back.
It's good to see you. It's been about
I come here
5
every
years?
year.
Pre-COVID, we haven't seen you since then, right?
I mean, I haven't seen you since we went hunting last year. That's the thing. Like, you go hunting on a few trips, you get a bunch of swag and a bunch of gear, and then you just disappear. You barely interact with us in the group chat, and then all of a sudden, hey, let's go hunting. Oh, hey, I want to be friends with Heartland Waterfowl again.
September 1st, he sends the group chat text that just says hi.
Hey, when you joined the 3-kid club, we didn't see you much anymore.
He's
either.
already joined. He's joined.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
I'm one away, but I'll never get there.
No, you will not.
I gotta start pulling the cart from your deck. I'm not gonna talk to any of these guys until September 1st. Where are we going? What are we doing? Why haven't I got anything in the mail yet?
When the birds show up, I show up.
That is 1,000% Champlin right there.
Without a doubt.
Why haven't I got anything in the mail yet?
I need some swag.
Yeah, it's not when the birds show up; it's when the swag shows up that he's
The
ready
swag
to
is
start.
nice, too.
So part of the problem, and we just kind of alluded to it, is that it's been warm. The migration's been way behind. The other problem that we have in this part of Kansas is that it has been incredibly dry. A lack of rain, a lot of the loafs and the farm ponds in this area. We've talked about this before. If you've been watching or paying attention to Heartland Waterfowl for any number of years, in this part of Kansas, there's a lot of rolling hills, and in those bottoms of those hills sometimes are farm ponds that these birds will loaf on, which makes it challenging for scouting because you have to catch them going to the pond. You can't just see them from the road. And I mean, sometimes you can, but oftentimes you can't. So you got unseasonably warm temperatures. When you don't have water, then the food, you're not going to have a good harvest, right? So there's less food. And so, and then the birds haven't showed up yet. So there's a lot of factors that are contributing to why this has been, or what we thought was going to be a challenging trip. But up to this point, considering all of the circumstances, it's been a very successful trip.
Yeah, we talked to a farmer yesterday. Gosh, I'm getting
Day before yesterday.
my days all mixed
Yeah,
up
that's
with
right.
Thanksgiving. So 2 days ago, we talked to a farmer, and he told Champlin and I that and he farms quite a bit of ground, but he said he counted 22 or 23 dry ponds.
Of his.
Yeah.
Well, another
Wow.
thing that he told you that I thought, I was actually telling my dad this because he farms, and when I was coming back to Kansas from having Thanksgiving with the family in Kansas City, I said that you had talked to the farmer, and I might have my numbers wrong, but that he typically gets about 150 bushel on his corn,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this year it was 30.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's
Wow.
insane.
Said he had about 5 bushel beans this year.
He
That's
said
sick.
most of the stalks didn't have any years on them. They're just stalks.
Right.
And that is going to be a huge problem
As you get later in
throughout
the season.
year,
Yeah.
because
No
even
food.
with just that, there's no food in those fields.
And there's no water in the ponds that we typically hunt. And look, we're not hunting like big roosts or anything like this. We're hunting the small, we call them loaf ponds. They typically, like, for instance, today, we didn't shoot our birds till 10 o'clock. They're coming off a feed. They were full of corn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we literally, there was 10 birds on the pond this morning.
Yeah.
And that's typically what we're looking for and what we like to see. And the difference from just scouting the last 3 days is there's hardly any water in these
Mhm.
ponds, and the water that there is can't hold that number of birds anyway. So you see like 20 come off this pond, you see 10 come off this pond, and they're just all spread out, and they're going all sorts of different places.
And then when you find those feeds, normally, I mean, you found a couple good ones.
Yeah, but on top of it, there's not a lot of birds around either.
On top of that, too, with them doing that, you drive by a field and there's 15 birds here, 30 birds there.
Right.
Because those are the ones that, you know, like you were saying, the ponds. It's just not the big 200-300 birds on a pond that you normally see when they're all full.
Yep.
And then this pond will have 300, 2 miles away. This pond will have 300. And then they'll join up in a field, and you got 600-700 geese, and they're gaining them from everywhere else. But now you got 12 here, 12 there, 12 here, 12 there, and
You can't do anything.
You can't hunt them.
I got to feed a
Nothing
75 if they join up.
Yeah.
Like
This is
rough.
the lowest amount of birds I've ever seen in
It's
10 years of
awful.
coming out here.
And there's more birds that are staying on the bigger lakes, you know, too, because of that.
For sure.
Yeah.
But there's still not a lot around.
No.
And
Now-
they're splitting off the lakes, too. I mean, they're just bomb blew up. You know, they're all going different directions. There's no flight lines. You know, it's just stumble upon something and hope for the best. You know, like this morning, we
Turned out way better than anybody
For
of us
sure.
imagined it was.
It's all reliable, right?
That's why we call it that.
I was being pretty pessimistic. I was like, let's shoot our 15 and get out of here. You know, and I think we had, 11 geese at 10, and by 10:05, we shot 26
Well, you and I was at, like, you and I were
three
talking
awesome
in
volleys.
Logan and I were talking in the blind. We're like, 9:40, are we done here? I think you may have said, Champ said at the end of the blind, hey, are we done here? And Logan had literally said, what do you think we should probably give it? Maybe another 20 minutes?
Give it till 10.
And good thing we did, because we dropped, I don't know. Because of Everett.
Yeah, Everett.
We essentially finished our limit in 2 minutes. From 10 o'clock to 10:02, we finished our limit. And so, what was that? We had 11 before, and we shot 36. So
Yeah. That was insane.
whatever that math
I
is.
can't wait.
25. 25.
I can't wait to see the video for that
20,
particular.
25.
And I went to Dodge City.
High school?
Yeah. Just
Did you get a diploma
Dodge
from
City
there?
School of Math.
eventually.
I can't wait to see. Anyway, well, before we get into too far into that, let's transition to that hunt this morning.
Eric going to high school.
Or that will be on the bloopers part. So we didn't
behind the blind.
right. This Old Reliable is one of those ponds that I was talking about before that you can't see from the road. You don't really know how many birds are in there. You got to just catch them going into it to get a good general idea. We've been scouting that as a group the last few days. Everett, who's helped out with some of the scouting, had seen them going in there, late, in that 9 o'clock hour, right around 10 o'clock. Which was part of the reason why we decided to stick it out until 10. But we only thought, why are you shaking
His head's going to get big.
Yeah.
His head.
Oh,
He's about to start guiding.
right.
The head's getting bigger, about not to be able to fit through the door. He didn't want to hunt with us.
I know. Well, at least he did go out and scout. We appreciate
Guaranteed
that.
he won't watch this podcast, so we can talk all the smack we want.
We
I'm
should.
not going to lie. I've never watched one.
Ever?
Wow. You're gone.
Hey, you're fired. No, we only thought there was maybe 100 Virgies in it. And so it was kind of on a hope and a prayer that we were going to have a good day, and we certainly did. One of the things I was going to speak to about today's hunt, though, was that the difference between today and yesterday was that it was a lot colder. The wind shifted out of the north, or I guess we had a little bit of a
The
north
wind was
so
blowing hard.
we couldn't complain about the wind.
Nothing to bitch about.
Nothing. I think it was right around 25 degrees, and it was a migration day for sure. As we were even getting in the trucks this morning to come out and hunt, we could hear the birds migrating overhead. So they were migrating all day. Weird though that because we do typically try to hunt snow geese a couple times while we're here, and this is a hot spot for snow geese, and they just kept on going. They were up there a mile and just kept on going south, which I thought was maybe a little bit odd. Is there any reasoning behind that? You guys have any?
Someone poisoned the water hole.
Someone poisoned.
That's what I keep blaming it on.
It's weird. Typically, I start shooting them really well the week in before Thanksgiving, before you guys get here.
Yep. Second
And,
week of November is when they usually start showing.
Yeah, and that's gone back 15 years.
20 years.
When we
15, 20
when we
years.
started hunting before this show was ever even a thought, Logan and I. And for whatever reason this year, we got buddies in North Dakota just still smacking the hell out of them.
Yep.
Normally they're ice fishing right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And I mean, they're just, it's usually my target thing and Logan's to Ronnie snow geese are a backup plan.
For sure.
We can't even use them as a backup plan right now. Like, Logan and I all morning, Logan's like, they're here. They're here. They showed up all night last night. All night.
That's all we heard. We saw them all last
And
night.
we saw them all this morning.
them
And
all
I was
last
like,
night.
we seen 5,000 go by. 20,000 had to stop.
Mm.
Yeah.
We got something to
Nope.
shoot. And then Justin and I went and looked today, and it's like,
Maybe 5 last night, maybe 10, 12 today.
yeah, like
Nothing
maybe
worth
5
messing
stopped.
with.
It's like, well, I guess we'll go look for Canadas and ducks in the hills that are non-existent, and we'll never find them. So that's what we did.
Well, even if they did show up, tomorrow would be a terrible day to try to hunt them with
No wind.
That big- that
I don't
front
know.
coming in,
5 miles per hour. Just saying.
What
that
happened
weather
last year?
coming in,
That just gives us an easy out if we don't do that.
That's a good excuse, right? Exactly.
and it'll make you happy. Oh, see, I told you guys we shouldn't have went and tried to shoot snow geese.
I wouldn't say that. Anyway, great hunt today. And we're hopeful that, and I was seeing tonight during the scout that there were still birds migrating. And so I guess I'm kind of crossing my fingers that, you know, for you guys who, and look, we joke all the time. I don't mind shooting the snow geese. I just haven't had as much personal success doing it with you guys when I'm here, as opposed, we did have the one good one last year. That's probably the best snow goose hunt I've had with you in Kansas.
In the fog with no wind.
Yeah, let's talk about that stupidity.
No, we've talked about it.
We've never talked about it on this episode.
On the skinny little tree.
There's like a rule of thumb that, for me anyway, and everything I know about snow goose hunting, I learned from you guys, I'll admit it, is that you're not going to go out
Don't
there.
be putting
and-
words in my mouth now.
I'm saying everything that I've learned is from you guys
Well,
is
guess-
that you typically want a good wind when you hunt snow geese. Tell me that is
taught
wrong.
you something new last year, didn't I?
You did teach me something new, that it is possible, but
When they're vulnerable, you
even a
need to
blind
take
squirrel-
advantage.
even a blind squirrel can find a nut, and that you had a horseshoe up your
No,
butt.
when they're vulnerable, you need to take advantage.
Yeah, they were vulnerable. There's no doubt. Anyway,
Okay.
we ended up shooting 90-some snow geese last year.
So you took
And
advantage.
we did. It was a foggy day. There was no wind. We were set up under a power line, and there was a Charlie Brown Christmas tree for a backdrop. And I'm texting Logan because he was on his way to Alaska to shoot that emperor goose with Alex, and I go, I can't even believe I'm here. Like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever done. And then, I mean, yeah, I was borderline pissed.
I was like, they're going to smash
Not
tomorrow.
borderline, you were pissed.
I was pissed. I was like, I cannot believe I got talked into doing this. And then, you know, he's texting me, and then a little bit later they started coming out, and then I'm texting Logan. I'm like, this is dumb. Like, this is so dumb. It's actually working. Like, anyway, we shot like 90-some birds, like I said. But
that power
typically,
line. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say it was just a really weird scenario because we've never tried to shoot snow geese under conditions like that.
I have many times,
Biggest smile on his face.
but I also
And I had a good time. I will also say that.
You
And
told
there
me
was a
that
time
day.
I told you, and there was a time when, and I will admit
you
it.
didn't have a good time, like you
There's
probably
some-
shouldn't be here. right
Exactly. No, for sure. I had a damn good time. And Champlin at one point in the hunt says, are we done here? And I said, well, we could wait another 15, 20 minutes.
I never thought I'd have heard that coming out.
Right. So it was fun. Anyway,
Got nothing but time. I brought 2 boxes of shells and a smile.
That's right. That's right.
You know it's going to work when you scout it, and they get up that evening, and about 8 of them hit the power line and die, and I walk out there and pick up a band.
Mm. That's that lucky horseshoe you
That
had
was-
up your ass.
That was that little road right
I
there.
know.
Why not sit under the power lines then?
So are we saying now that because we have a 5-mile-an-hour east wind tomorrow morning that we should set up on 15,000 snows and limit out?
You can smack them.
No.
Huh?
Don't ask him that.
I'm backtracking. The night before you called me and you're like, this is dumb. We shouldn't do this, that, and I said, 8 of them just flew into the power line. I think you'll be okay.
That is true. Nope, I was proven wrong for sure. But to my defense, we typically like to look for a good stiff wind when we're hunting snow geese.
But you just also never know. You always have to try something to figure something out.
That sounded like Everett.
Words of wisdom.
That did sound
We
like
always got to try like
shit.
something to find something out.
You're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Isn't that what Michael Jordan said?
Exactly. Yeah,
That right there is the new Heartland Waterfowl t-shirt.
That was a way better way to say it. That's
Dodge City education.
That's a Dodge City education. Just don't know how to put words together.
The fact that he said it sounded something like Everett would say, dumb as shit.
Sorry, Everett.
Everett and Michael Jordan.
Yesterday, though.
Good 10 o'clock scout.
Oh man, we're wrecked. This is bad. Sorry, never mind. I was gonna say something I forgot.
That's all right. Okay.
Today turned out great, man. That was fun.
It was
It
fun.
was a ton of fun.
It was a beatdown.
Miss
It's
100%
good
of the
for the
shots
soul.
you don't take.
36 honkers, and
15 ducks.
we had 15 ducks. We got mallards and gadwalls and shot some grinners, and as
We
I like
did.
to call them,
We did.
The pond pimps.
the pond
You
pimps.
can put all them in a soup.
And as
You
we,
can have mine.
and we actually got one snow goose too.
And I didn't get a shoot. That's
Dakota did. But hey, we scouted it. That snow was on there.
yes. I've hunted that pond for close to 15 years. Never shot one snow geese, which everybody knows is my favorite thing to kill.
Mm-hmm.
I go to get the truck, and I hear a shot right before I get to the truck. I look back, didn't see anything. I'm like, whatever, you know. Pull up, and I see Mo with a snow goose in his mouth. And I'm like, what the? And I get out, and Dakota's just got this giant smile on his face and walks up to me and goes, I shot that. And I'm like, I have never once killed a snow goose on this pond. And you're the first one to
Yeah.
do it?
Yeah.
Yep.
You got to be kidding me.
He literally, so I'm picking decoys up, and he's filming a shot, and I look back at him. I said, "Get a gun and go and shoot that." And that snow goose is just hovering. He walked back in the blind, grabbed it, grabbed 2 shells, walked back out to the bank of the pond, loaded his gun, and shot the bird. It was just hovering over top of us.
Wow.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
But it was on there 2 days ago.
I'm lucky it was.
And here's the difference too. 2 days ago when we looked at it, I walked in there. There's 20 birds on it. And
Yeah.
a snow goose.
Yeah.
Yesterday, maybe 100, 125 if you're lucky. I didn't want to go any further because I was going to bump them. But that's probably what we saw this morning.
Yeah.
Like, where did it go? What was it doing?
It was
and
by
why
itself.
was it by itself?
Probably had the flu.
It was a warty nose snow,
Mm-hmm.
mature.
For sure.
Dakota was like, guaranteed it's banded. He's like, that mature one's going to be, that's going to be my banded.
That would have been
snow."
the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
I would have
would've.
loved every
You
single
would have
one.
loved that.
If
I
he
would've
walked up
hated
and
it.
was like, here you go, champ.
I'd have been so mad. So mad. But
So,
happy for Dakota.
As we transition into what's happening here the rest of the week, we've got a couple more days of hunting. We're still not real sure what we're doing tomorrow morning. We thought we were going to have north winds going in through the night. I think we do have mostly northeast for the next couple hours, and then in the overnight it shifts out of the east. So I don't know how much that's going to affect the migration or the hope that we originally had throughout the day that more birds would keep piling in. There is a storm advisory, winter storm advisory that is in effect. So there's parts of this area that are expecting 2 to 5 inches of snow. So that could make things very interesting here over the next couple days. But we have a couple of options that we might be getting into, but nonetheless, as we spoke to earlier in the show, is that we have our work cut out for us with all the factors that have been discussed. And now you throw the mix of the winter storm, and I'd love to maybe get your guys' opinion. You and I talked about it on the phone before we came. People usually always get excited about the fact that there's some migration day and there's new birds. I always like it when it's like 2 days after. or 3 days after a migration day, because that first day that they're there, they're just acting weird. Like they don't know where they're at, or, some of them don't act like they know where they're at or what they want to do. They're just kind of doing all kinds of weird stuff.
Yep. They're just surveying the land. It seemed like we had like a few groups this morning that were kind of doing that.
Yeah.
They kind of like that 4-pack came over and they like acted interested and they kind of locked up. And then all of a sudden they were like, "No, we're going to keep just kind of flying around and seeing what's going on." Like,
yeah, they didn't know what
like
they wanted to do.
It was like they just not really interested and wanted to go do something else. It was kind of bizarre, but yeah, you want them to be fresh, but you either want them to catch them like that first day that they're migrating in, or you want to wait literally 2 or 3 days and let them get accustomed to a field that they're going to.
Let them get in there and get vulnerable.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Again, not real sure what we have going on for tomorrow, but
Waiting on a call back.
Waiting on a call back from the landowner to find out whether we're going to be able to get on something or not. But be sure to check back to find out the latest, as we are here for the next couple days. Hopefully you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving with your friends and family. And thank you, Tetra Herring, for sponsoring the show and sponsoring Behind the Blind. Check them out online at tetraherring.com. For Eric Champlin, Logan Burditt, Chaz Michaels, I'm Ronnie Philips.
Thanks for joining us, Chaz Michaels.
Anytime, buddy. Anytime.
See you next September again.
Bring some more substance to the podcast tomorrow, Chaz Michaels.